Today's vlog is very exciting. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey and kind of teach you, I guess, how to take astrophotography with a 1-year-old. It's not actually a lesson, it's just I wanted to take photos of the stars and my 1-year-old was awake. So, yeah. But before I can do that, we have to do the school run. So bear with me. Alright, let's go make a movie. Whew. Okay, now, there are a few things you will need in order to take astrophotos. There are a few things you will need to take astrophotos with a 1-year-old. The first thing is a 1-year-old, although you can take astrophotos without a 1-year-old. If you don't have a 1-year-old, you can just swap it out with an alarm clock, because that's basically what my 1-year-old was yesterday. The second thing you'll need to do if you don't have a 1-year-old is set your alarm for 4 AM. Conveniently, my 1-year-old woke up at 4 AM. She was my alarm clock. It was very early. The third, probably most crucial thing you need is to remember at 4 o'clock in the morning that you want to shoot the stars. You want to take astro photos, because I'll be honest, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, and I took my very first ever clear photo of stars when I was in Coffs Harbour, and that was like 3 weeks ago. And this is the first opportunity I got that I actually got up and left the house to do it. And it's not because I remembered, it's only because we ran out of milk. And now that Bubs is awake, and it's 4 in the morning, and we're out of milk, I think I'm gonna take her with me. She can be my little photo buddy for the day. I'll strap her on my chest, we'll take photos, it'll be great. So I couldn't feed my baby back to sleep, so I was like, what do? Oh, I'll go take photos. Yeah, alright, peace, see ya, bye. I think it'll work, as long as she falls asleep. If you don't have that situation and you just have an alarm clock, you need to remember, because 4 o'clock in the morning is a hard time to get up for a lot of people. I wouldn't suggest doing it often unless you get up at 4 o'clock often in the morning, but when you do, wake up, remember, be excited, and you'll get out and you'll do it. Everything else you need is kind of expected, I guess. You need an everyday bag, like this one. This isn't my big professional bag. This is the Lowepro Format BP150, and it's the bag I take everywhere, every day, I guess. It's enough to hold my camera, a spare lens, the microphone, a few other bits and pieces. I'm gonna go completely through the camera bag, not this Monday coming, the Monday after, so you'll get to see what's in my bags then. But for this one, I just carry everything I need on the shoot. It helps if your camera body doesn't handle intervalometer settings. If you have your own intervalometer, I'll put a link to the one I use down below. It's just from Amazon. It does the exact same thing as the Canon one. I haven't had any problems with it yet, but it's like a fraction of the price, so why not? And then of course you're going to need a steady tripod, which I can't show you because I'm using it. Oh, I will show you. Hold on. It's the Nuir Pro carbon fiber, available in many other colors. I'll also leave a link to this in the description below. I love it. It's easy to use. It's nice and steady. It's a great photography tripod. You're going to need a location. I picked Norah Head on the central coast of New South Wales because I thought it would look nice overlooking the entrance, which is a city you can see from Norah Head. I didn't know how bright that city was at 4 in the morning, and just an FYI to those of you trying to take astrophotography, if you can see a light, doesn't matter how distant it is, it's going to be so bright, so bright when you develop your astrophotography photos in Lightroom, so just keep that in mind. It's everything you need. Let's talk about planning. Like I said, you need to plan your location. If you do have a 1-year-old, you're going to want to pack some nappies and wipes into your everyday bag. you don't have a 1-year-old, don't worry about that bit, of course. Maybe just pack a coffee, because I forgot mine, or a tea, or whatever you're drinking to keep yourself awake. I had a screaming child, so I was fine. Then you're going to want to drive, head out, pray to whatever God you pray to, if you pray to a God at all, that the baby falls asleep on the way out there. Which she may not. And that you can get a park nice and close to the car, so you don't have to wake said sleeping baby and get them out of the car. I wasn't so lucky. But fortunately, because option number 2 is put the baby in a chest carrier and snuggle it up in your jumper so that it falls asleep on your chest, take a cute picture, send it to your wife on Snapchat, and get bonus kudos when you get home the next morning, which happened to be my anniversary. So that all went very well, and that's what I opted for. The other thing you'll need is appropriate clothing. It's cold at 4 in the morning. Even here in Australia in the middle of summer, it was cold at 4 in the morning. Then what you're going to want to do is learn the 500 rule. There are a few different rules. There's the 500, the 600, and I think I might have seen the 300 somewhere. Try them all out. The 500 rule worked for me the best. What it is basically is 500 or 300 or 600 divided by your true focal length. Now I say true focal length because if you're like me and you're shooting on a non-full frame camera, an APS-C or another type of sensor crop camera, the crop factor affects the zooms. So the 700D has a 1.6 crop factor, which means when I'm at 18mm, like I am now, which is nice and wide, and that's what you want, so that you can have a really, really low f-stop, the actual zoom that it's at is closer to about 35. Alright, so when you do your maths for the 500, 300 or 600 rule, you want to do 500 divided by your true focal length, which is your focal length times your crop factor. Okay, what you'll get from that is a number, and that number is the maximum speed of your shutter to avoid getting a star trail. As we all know, but we're not very aware of, the Earth is constantly moving. When you're out taking a long exposure of the stars and you're trying to get nice crisp little points in the sky instead of streaks, you fast become aware of the fact that the Earth is moving. If you follow the 500, 300 or 600 rule, whichever one works for you, you can avoid that streak and your photos will look nice and crisp, which is what I did. And then, like I said just before, you want to set your f-stop as low as you can to maintain that shutter speed. Your photo shouldn't be perfectly exposed. Okay, it depends on the way you've got light coming into the sensor. It depends if you've got evaluative metering on, or center pointed metering, or weighted average metering. Whatever your metering mode is completely changes the way your camera tells you whether or not it's completely exposed. What you want to do instead, well, at least what I did and what worked for me, is you want to create a HDR image. The way you do that is you set your shutter speed where you want it, bump your ISO all the way to the top, take a photo, don't change anything apart from your ISO, bump it down to the next level, take the exact same photo again, bump it down, photo, so on and so forth, until you've gone all the way from 1600, which is the highest I went on this camera, 1600, hold on, 6400, sorry, my bad, 6400 all the way down to 100. And then what you do in post is, in Lightroom at least, you can merge all those clips together in a HDR stack, and what it will do is combine all the photos so that you get the best bits, or the best exposed parts of each photo. You can do this manually, of course. You can also go into Photoshop and, slice out the bit of the photo that you like where the city is perfectly exposed, and then slice out the bit where the stars are perfectly exposed, and then put them together and fade them and merge them and do all that stuff. I'm still experimenting with the whole thing. This is the first time I've ever got a photo that I was really genuinely proud of with astrophotography, so bear with me. Obviously, I don't forget to stock the fridge with milk very often, so the kid normally just goes back to sleep. I don't get to go out and take photos that early in the morning very often. It is, of course, entirely up to you what you do after you've got the photos. Some people, the purists I think they're called, don't like editing them at all. That's fine. I didn't edit my HDR images and they come out beautifully. Other people, myself included, sometimes I feel like a purist, sometimes I don't. Anyway, other people want to put it in Lightroom and play with it as much as you can, if you're one of those people. Some of the most valuable sliders in Lightroom for astrophotography are your clarity and your dehaze. give them a fiddle. Try and find a good mix. They bring out the stars really, really well. They bring out the clouds of stardust, whatever it is, around the stars very well. They're great. Give them a play. Aside from that, it's really all you need. You don't need a special lens. You don't need a special camera. If you're doing super duper long exposures, you do. And there's all sorts of stuff you can get to track the stars, but if you follow the 500, 300, 600 rule, you don't. The photo I'm about to show you, I took, like I said, it's an 8 image stack from 6400 ISO all the way down to 100 ISO. I took it at the very bottom of my zoom, so about 35mm. The ISO's range, of course. F-stop was 3.5 and the exposure time was 15 seconds. When I did the math for the 500 rule, I got to 17.6. I rounded it up to 20, didn't like the way the photo looked, so I rounded it back down to 15. Worked great, took all the photos. Bob's your uncle. I haven't had a lot of practice with astrophotography, so I'm welcome to comments and criticisms. If you've done a lot, or if you know someone who has, or if you know anything about it that you think might help me take better photos, please, 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 please let me know. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow for my return to gaming, I guess. Stay tuned. Thanks. Bye. Is that the one we need? Is that the one we need? Yeah. No? I think it is though.